Federal Reserve's in focus for investors are expected to announce a policy shift that will clear the way for an interest rate hike. That's not tapering, is it? Steve Leisman joins us now with more. That's fun. That's qualitatively different than just pulling back on buying some bonds.
Yeah, it's a different game, Joe. It's like it's the big leagues, but not yet. A significant change expected in Fed policy today, with expectations that it speeds up the removal of the pandemic emergency relief by tapering faster and sets the stage for interest rate increases much earlier next year than previously signaled. Several important changes are likely to Fed policy and its language as it pivots from combating a weak economy to fighting inflation. Here's some of what you might expect. Speed up the taper to $30 billion a month. That's double the rate. No longer call inflation transitory, and forecast a higher funds rate in 2022 and beyond through the Fed's median forecast. Stephen Stanley of Amherst Pierpont writes, suddenly policymakers are faced with the prospect that they have already made a significant policy mistake by maintaining emergency settings for far too long. Policy uncertainty heading into 2022 is about as high as it has been in decades. Now, some uncertainty could be removed today when the Fed publishes its new economic projections. Today, markets going to look closely, obviously, at the outlook for growth, inflation, but especially for the Fed's own outlook for rates, the so-called dot plot. The September Fed rate forecast saw not quite one hike next year and a 1% funds rate by the end of 2023, 1.8% by the end of 24. That's likely to change today. Fed is well behind where the market is. Respondents to the CNBC survey, they see a 70 basis point funds rate in 2022. And if you are in the car on the radio, I'm sorry, but if you're watching TV, you can see the difference there. 2 rate hikes more than the Fed forecast for 2023 as it goes to 1.5%. That means the Fed outlook has to change sharply to catch up. Inflation, it's going to need to show signs of easing by the spring or the summer, where the Fed could be forced to move even more rapidly than all that. But today, Fed policy will likely take the first steps to position itself to combat inflation. Fed Chair Jay Powell in his press conference, he's going to set the stage for just how strongly the Fed plans to fight that battle and how quickly, Joe.
Okay, Steve, keep us updated on that terminal rate, on the dot plots, and everything else. I feel a little bit better. I'm totally confused why we'd stop under 3, but at least, that's not going to choke us off completely. And it would be worrisome, wouldn't it, Steve? I mean, I know we had that discussion about the debt service and what it would cost at 5, 6, 7%. I think we can agree that it would not be good for us if rates were to really spike, which
yes.
at 9.8% CPI, it was only PPI, I understand that. But there are people, I don't know if you saw Ackman talking about where inflation rates really are right now. If we got the 10 CPI, there's no way we stay at under 3. There's no way, Steve. This has to be transitory or the terminal rate would change.
No, that's right. And I think, Joe, the outlook of the Fed is not for 10. I think the question the Fed is dealing with, and maybe it's not the right question. Maybe they should be dealing with the prospect that it gets to 10 and the Fed has to address that. The real question I think that it's dealing with is, hey, we're not going to be at 6 or 7. We're going to come back down. And the question for the Fed is, where do you come back down to? Do you settle back in a 3 or 4% world, or do you start to approach back the 2%? I think, Joe, with your focus on technology and the singularity and all that stuff, do you really think the world of low inflation is gone forever because of the pandemic? Or have we forgotten how to unload ships and, do all the technology and fund global supply chain stuff that was really responsible for keeping inflation low for almost 30 years? Has that gone away? I think Powell and the Fed still think some of that's still out there. So the world of lower inflation is not gone forever. Just a question of how you get there and position policy to bring it back down and keep it there.